This is a spoiler review for Spider-Man: Across the Spider-Verse. We just talked about the movie spoiler free. We both gave it 5 stars.
Yep.
We both enjoyed it. And now we're going to talk about it openly and honestly. So if you haven't seen the movie, you might want to click pause on this, go see it, and come back. If you have seen the movie or you don't care about spoilers, then listen on. I don't know what there is really to. What is there to spoil about this?
Well, so I think the biggest thing we learn is that the spider that bit Miles Morales was from a different dimension.
A universe other than his own.
Other than his own, correct. And this has to do with the Jason Schwartzman character, who's the Spot, who was running experiments through Kingpin. They do a good job of tying it back to the first movie of how this spider entered the universe through the same technology that the Kingpin was using in the first movie.
Yep.
And the Oscar Isaac Spider-Man, who's like Spider-Man 2099, I think is what he's supposed to be. And I remember the 2099 were kind of like the late 90s edgy characters.
Yeah, I got to dig those out. I wonder what they're worth after this movie.
I have some old 2099 like Marvel trading cards lying around.
I have like a Spider-Man 2099 like issue 1. I might even have 2 or 3 of them.
You have the comic book. I have the I have most of the X-Men 2099 movie comic books, but last time I looked, they were not worth anything.
Holy crap. Spider-Man 2099 number 1, $200.
Oh, okay. You could.
But that's graded.
You mean by graded?
Meaning they sent it to a company and then the company gave it a grade. You don't know what graded things are?
No, I don't dabble in the eBay world as much as you do.
I mean, they do this with sports memorabilia too.
Have you
It's not just comics, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay. Let me just say that memorabilia
You never watched Pawn Stars?
No.
You've never watched Pawn Stars?
No, I've watched Pawn Stars, but I never watched it religiously, and I wasn't paying attention to the nomenclature.
Okay. Well, if you have something valuable,
okay,
you send it to a company that knows what they're talking about, and then they review it and then give it a score. And then based on that, it might be way more valuable than what you think. Okay. Or way less valuable than what you think, depending on the condition of the thing. Comics being nothing different. So I am seeing versions of it on sale for $5 as well.
Right.
So evidently a 9.8 runs $200, just 0.2 of a point short of a perfect. And a completely ungraded Spider-Man 2099 will run you between $5 and $10.
Awesome. Now I know.
Yep.
So anyway, we Oscar Isaac's Spider-Man 2099 is kind of running this spider task force where he is getting all the he's trying to make sure that every being is within his own dimension. And this ties back to the first movie of now that the universes have been melded together. He's trying to return everyone to their own dimension. It's usually bad guys that they're returning, right?
Right.
Well, then we learn that Oscar Isaac sees Miles Morales as a mistake because he was bitten by a spider from a different universe, meaning that universe doesn't have a Spider-Man, which is how we get 2 Spider-Mans in Miles Morales. Peter Parker, Chris Pine, who dies, and then now Miles Morales.
Right.
So who starts as kind of like the leader of like, oh, here's this, first Miles Morales wants to join this cool team with Gwen Stacy of, hey, let's fight these other dimensional beings and I want to be with other spider people. Wouldn't that be cool? This guy slowly becomes the bad guy who wants to, he's kind of like Kang in the sense he wants to kind of keep order within the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that order means returning Miles Morales to where he came from.
Right. Yeah. I liked that a lot.
So I was surprised, but not too surprised when he eventually gets he gets sent back to where he came from,
Mm-hmm.
which he at first thinks is his own universe. And I noticed that when he gets there, and it's like the last 20 minutes, the art style was just a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Like it kind of looked like the Batman animated series art.
Mm-hmm.
Just like in the shading and the lines. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Why does his world look a little different than I'm used to? And then it slowly clicked with me. Oh, wait, he's not in his world.
Mm-hmm.
And then we realized that he was sent back to Earth 42, which is where Spider 42 came from,
Mm-hmm.
which is the world that doesn't have a Spider-Man.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And this is a world where Miles never became Spider-Man and he becomes the Prowler.
He's the Prowler. Yeah, right. That's the other big whoa moment.
His uncle is not the Prowler.
No. I mean, his
Right.
uncle is his handler.
Right. Right.
But Miles is the Prowler, and his father is the dead one.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. What did you think about like that bigger concept of like, you know, when they get to the spider world with all the spider people all over the place and Spider-Man 2099 is upset that he exists, basically.
Mhm.
He's the anomaly, right?
Right.
Miles is the anomaly because he became Spider-Man without a sacrifice. Was that kind of the gist, even though his uncle died?
No, well, so I thought he was upset. There's this whole idea of canon events,
Mm-hmm.
and that in every spider person world, certain
Mhm.
things must happen, right? Like your father figure must die.
Mhm.
The other big one that they talk about is that the captain must die,
Mhm.
right? And the captain is usually Captain Stacy, but not always the fact.
Mhm.
So first, Miles in Mumbattan, he saves the captain,
Mhm.
right? Even though the rest of the Spider people know that needs to happen. So that upsets Oscar Isaac. And then on top of it, when Miles Morales realizes that the captain always dies, in his universe, who's about to become the new captain? His father.
Mhm.
Right? So that kind of sets up for him, can I disrupt the canon? Can I save my father? Or what ramification will this have upon the Spider-Verse if I don't
Mhm.
let this happen? And I definitely
Right.
think that's where the next movie will be taking us.
Mhm.
Is Miles Morales having to deal with being in a different dimension, but also, can I buck the canon, and what's going to happen if I do that?
Right, but did he really buck the canon when his uncle died?
No. So I don't think, again, I don't think Oscar Isaac was mad. I think Oscar Isaac is mad for two reasons. One, that he exists in the first place because
Because the spider didn't come from his dimension.
his dimension, right? So they're lacking a Spider-Man somewhere else, and because he saved the Captain Stacy surrogate in Mumbattan.
Okay.
Right.
But why is he calling him the anomaly?
Uh,
Because
again,
he'll save somebody else's captain?
I think it's because he is the second Spider-Man in a universe.
Gotcha.
I think
Okay.
that's where it mostly comes down to.
Mhm.
And like maybe Oscar Isaac was going to give him a chance until he saw Miles Morales then go against the canon and save the captain.
Mhm.
And that could have been the nail in the coffin of Oscar Isaac being like, okay, you don't belong here. You're not going to
Well,
follow the rules and your anomaly to the universe.
sure. Yeah, I mean there's a little bit of a storyline hitch here where they're like, yeah, the captain goes and he realizes like my dad's about to
My
become the
dad's
captain.
about to be the captain. Yeah.
So I need to go home and save him. And
Mhm.
they're like basically telling him, no, he's got to die because that's how it goes. That's a
Right.
canon
You can't
event.
save him.
Right.
And it's very clever that this movie shows, like, when Oscar Isaac is talking about the canon
Mhm.
and he says, you know, the captain always dies, and they have all these spider people around him, like, hearing that story, they'll kind of hang their heads, and all these holograms pop up of like those spider people over the dead bodies, over the dead captain's body. So like you see how they all have this shared experience.
Yeah, and not only like storylines that maybe we're not familiar with as an audience, but also they cut in like stuff from
like
the first Spider-Man
yeah.
series and the second Spider-Man series. Yeah. The only one they didn't have was the Tom I want to say Tom Arnold, but that's
Tom
wrong.
Holland.
Tom Holland Spider-Man.
So is that a rights issue? Because is it because that Tom Holland Spider-Man is like on loan to Marvel, whereas Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man are still within the Sony studio?
Honestly, I don't know, nor do I think it would have mattered had somebody said, "Look, guys, let's make this happen."
Like,
you know what I mean?
Tom Holland in here?
Yeah, let's get Tom Holland in there. Yeah. I mean, Tom Holland has said that Spider-Man, he said in an interview that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was his favorite Spider-Man movie.
Okay.
Now, I don't think he understood what he was saying in that moment.
Right. Well, Tom Holland's not one to keep his mouth closed, as we know. So,
right.
Yeah.
And I think he said it innocently, not that he was slamming his own movies or anything like that.
I think he's saying it as a fan.
Right. As a fan, I think he could see that that it's a great movie, regardless of how he feels about his own. So anyway, like I said, I think at this point, I mean, we had Venom in an MCU movie, and that is a Sony villain character. You know what I mean? Not Venom himself, but the guy who played Venom.
Where?
He was in the end of No Way Home, in the bit at the end.
Oh, or Tom Hardy was?
Yeah, Tom Hardy.
I don't remember. Okay. So that's why I wonder if MCU is fine allowing Sony into their world,
right?
But does not want to let them into the Sony world. That's what I wonder where the crisscross is happening.
I think that's true, and also they should have made an exception to have one more hexagonal box.
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean? To make it like, here's the 3 Spider-Man and they've all had sacrifices.
Yep. That's a good point.
But that being said, has Tom Holland's Spider-Man had a sacrifice? Has he had somebody die that's close to him? I don't remember. Spoiler for MCU Spider-Man. If we even remember.
No, I don't think no, because Aunt May didn't die in No Way Home, right?
Yes, Aunt May did die. Remember? Like the Green Goblin blew her up or something. And
okay. Marissa Tomei. Does Marissa Tomei Aunt May die in No Way Home?
I think so.
I don't remember. I thought either she died or like we thought she died, and then I wish I could remember.
Aunt May die in No Way. Excuse me.
But yes, like
killed by the villain Mysterio. No,
Aunt May was not killed by Mysterio in No Way Home.
Does Aunt May die? May's demise was a heart-wrenching moment. Well, yeah, she gives that great power, great responsibility line, like right before.
To Tom Holland. Okay, I do not remember her very well then dying in No Way Home.
But you got to rewatch that movie.
No, I don't.
You didn't like it?
No, I liked it. I just don't need to watch it again.
You're never going to watch that movie again?
No, I'm not saying I'm never going to watch it again. I say
you're mad at that movie.
I'm not mad. you're trying to be a Zach here. It's not. You're not very. It doesn't fit you very well.
I know. I'm not as good at it.
No. No, I'm not mad at that movie. I think I gave it 4 stars. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I don't feel a need to rewatch it. There's a lot of Marvel movies post Endgame I don't feel the need to rewatch. I can enjoy them for what they are in the moment and then move on, or not enjoy them too. I'm okay with that either way.
I think of any post Endgame movie to rewatch, it would probably be that one.
Yeah, there is a strong. I mean, am I open to rewatching it? Yes. Mm-hmm. Am I craving to rewatch it? No.
Okay.
No. Okay.
Fair enough.
Anyway, Yeah. So, what did you think about Donald Glover being in this movie?
I mean, it's brief. And it took me a bit to remember that they were setting him up, not setting him up. They hinted that he was going to become the Prowler in his appearance in MCU. So there's no, or was it an Amazing? I don't remember.
So he, my understanding of the Donald Glover saga is that when Amazing was announced, Donald Glover was making a pitch hard to be Spider-Man.
Right.
Right. And this also goes back to like in Community, he's wearing like Spider-Man pajamas in one episode. So like Donald Glover wanted to be.
Fans wanted it too. Fans wanted it too.
Right. Yeah. It didn't happen. But Miles Morales was created partially inspired by Donald Glover. I think for the Miles Morales creators, they're like, well, what if we did have a black Spider-Man? And I think Donald Glover helped inform that character. And I believe Donald Glover has voiced a Spider-Man in some animated capacity.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely having Donald Glover in Into the Spider-Verse is a nod to his influence on Miles Morales.
Sure. And he was also in one of the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
If he was, I don't remember which one it was. I've only seen the first one, and I remember that even less than
he's in one of them. I think it's maybe the first, but he is selling alien tech out of the back of his car that he stole. It's very short. He's not in it much. I think it was more of a, I mean, Donald Glover is a great person to have in your movie for many reasons, but I think the main reason they had him in was to get, the fans to be like, oh, you did get him in here, even though you didn't make him Spider-Man type of thing. But to see him back here and have him kind of sarcastically appear, I would say.
Right.
As like, yep, I'm still here. I'm just in another universe type of thing. And I'm not Spider-Man there either type of thing.
That was the other crazy thing about this movie too, is how they brought in live action elements. Because like this was a live action Donald Glover talking to cartoon Miles Morales.
Sure. Oh, from what I understand, and I missed a lot of this. This is just because I watched a video on YouTube. They pulled several of those Spider-Man from video games. From like this 1960s Spider-Man cartoon was in there.
Yeah, he popped up in there.
The 80s live action TV show Spider-Man was in there.
Okay.
Yeah, like pretty much anywhere they could pull a Spider-Man from any medium, they pulled him.
I believe it. Yeah.
All the different like famous art styles they pulled Spider-Man from.
I loved is it Rob Lichtfield, that artist, that Spider-Man? Like the one who's all like just sinewy muscles and like belt packs and everything.
Yeah. I think I relate that more to Mark Bagley, but it's from that era. It's all from that era. It's Mark Bagley was the artist on Spider-Man around that era.
Okay. And I was thinking of
when
the guy
everybody was drawing things like that. So
right, the guy who created Cable. Right. He can't draw
Rob
feet.
Liefeld.
Is Rob Liefeld. Okay. Yeah. So they had that era Spider-Man. And he even says something like, I'm all muscles and belt. He says something really funny, which like cracked me up. Was he also kind of angsty too?
Yeah, it was the 90s.
There was an angsty one. Okay. All right. Yeah, that was. But like that was the fun of it, was they would give you sometimes these brief Spider people, and they'd only have a couple lines, but because you know the story, it was funny to see how this specific one reacted to that. I also love the Daniel Kaluuya Spider-Punk.
Yeah. That was
like
good.
He was just the fact that he looked like 70s pop art. Like he had kind of this 2D elements to him. I just thought he was so cool looking. Like he looked like a Sex Pistols album cover in a Spider-Man form.
Did you ever play Parappa the Rapper?
I mean, in the rain and in the snow.
Okay. It reminded me of that, where it was kind of flat, but in a 3D world.
Right. Yeah, he was exactly.
And then they would do a kind of like as if pieces of him were cut out of a magazine and pasted on there. Yeah, it was super impressive. One, it's impressive that they even attempt it. Two, it's impressive that it actually works. And it's within a 3D environment.
Yeah,
Like
to have like this 2D magazine cutout who still can work and can still move and interact with it. That was probably maybe the most mind warping character to wrap my head around. Yeah.
And at any time you might have like 10 characters on screen and they're all animated in their own specific style, and yet it still works. And it kind of makes me I don't know. Why is it that this series is the only one of recent memory that I've seen that is willing to take a risk on the animation? You know what I mean? That is really okay with, like, maybe Secret of Kells, or like, you know what I mean? Like that.
Or like Wolf Walkers. Yeah, but
Right,
those
like,
are like
some
small
of those
studio movies.
Right. They're
Yeah.
taking risks, but like, you're not seeing these kinds of risks being taken in Pixar movies. You're certainly not seeing it in Illumination movies.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
There's just, why aren't animated movies? I'm not saying they all have to look like this. It's just, this movie makes you very aware of how formulaic 3D animated movies have become.
Well, so I will say that I think we are starting to see the Lord Miller influence in other animation.
Mm-hmm.
And like
they started with Lego Movie.
Well, yeah, right. They did Lego Movie, which this movie had a cool little Lego Lego sequence too, which I thought was interesting.
Absolutely.
Like we said before, Into the Spider-Verse did not make a lot of money at first. So there is a strong chance that Into the Spider-Verse could have just bombed. And then studios have been like, nope, can't do crazy animation. Let's go back to 3D bubble figures, right? But I think because that movie was successful long-term, critically, and word of mouth, and then you have like Mitchell's versus the Machines, which is also Lord and Miller, I realize. But then you see something like Puss in Boots: Last Wish, which have you seen yet?
No, but it's traditionally 3D animated, right? Pretty much.
No,
it's not. Okay.
I would say Puss in Boots: Last Wish is moving towards where Spider-Verse is.
Okay.
It's not. I mean, it's not obviously as chaotic and as creative, but it's not just like, it's definitely farther from where Shrek was, if that makes sense. Like Puss in Boots, I've never seen Puss in Boots. I assume Puss in Boots 2011 is just Shrek animation style. Where Last Wish is like, well, what if we make this part 2D? And what if we show the lines here? And like, it's starting to broaden the animation. And incidentally, Puss in Boots: Last Wish was a lot of people's favorite animated movie from last year. And made a ton of money too. So I do think we're going to start seeing more diversity in 3D animation.
It's
going to take some time, but upon the success of this movie, the success of Last Wish, the success of Lego movies, I think animation studios are hopefully realizing, oh, we don't have to just do the DreamWorks look, because that's what a lot of it looks like, is, you know, the kind of DreamWorks Illumination. And even Pixar, like, what was that one that Zach likes that I didn't like? Onward.
Yeah.
Like Onward was such boring animation for me.
Same here. It just felt, it wasn't bad. It just was.
It was boring.
It just wasn't what what I hope from them is, like, every time I go to a movie, unless it's a Toy Story 3, like Toy Story movies look like Toy Story movies. They don't have to look like anything else. But if you're going to release a Soul, then yeah, you can change up the art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Make it interesting to look at, make it look like something we've never seen before. And there are very traditionally animated 3D animated movies that I love. I'm not saying you can't make those. I just, I'm not sure I've seen one from a Pixar who's supposedly the standard in a while where I'm blown away visually to the extent that Across the Universe and Into the Universe blew me away.
And
where I'm just like, they went for it. Nobody's ever done this before. They really put it all on screen and they made it work. And that's impressive.
I would say nobody's done this at a large studio scale. There's definitely been small studios doing
Right.
interesting animation, but
For sure.
they're not having the broad appeal.
They're definitely not doing it with IP as valuable as Spider-Man.
As Spider-Man, not at all. No.
Because it is risky. It could easily not work, like you said, and come out and have bombed and nobody liked it. And everybody thought it was annoying that it was changing art style. And that didn't happen, fortunately.
So, Jay, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I really think you should see Puss in Boots' Last Wish.
I hear you. It's on my list.
Okay. I don't want to hype it or anything. So
it's not overhyped yet.
Okay.
I think I just have to be in the mood to watch a children's animated movie alone at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's
that might be a Georgia movie.
Okay. Oh, when do we discuss Georgia on the podcast?
I don't know.
Okay,
we can talk about it. I mean, we're gonna go up to Georgia to celebrate your and Zach's birthday, right?
For me, it's down to Georgia for me. It's funny when you say up to Georgia.
Right. So, it's down to Georgia for you, up to Georgia for us.
Yeah.
To my family's cabin, and then we're gonna gorge ourselves on movies. I think
it's gonna be like a 5-day Cinereelists or 4-night Cinereelist retreat.
Right. Yeah. So that might have to be one of those movies. I don't know.
I am okay. That'll be my 3rd time watching Puss in Boots' Last Wish.
You've already seen it enough?
No, I like it. No, I saw it in the theater, and then we rented it again on iTunes a while ago and watched it a 3rd time. No, right. It's 4-star. Not gonna. All right. Anything else? I feel like this spoiler section's been all over the place. Anything else?
It definitely has. I as much as I liked the dynamic of the first Spider-Verse movie, I really loved the relationship dynamics in this one. Like the scenes where Miles and Gwen are flying through the buildings together, having fun. And then they land up in that bell tower type thing and they hang upside down and they talk. And like she leans her head on his shoulder. I was like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
This is the best Spider-Man relationship they've done yet, by far. And I didn't process it, but you mentioned it earlier. Like, it's because they're equals.
Right.
It's because they're going through the same thing and they can relate to each other. And then later on in the movie, you find out that she's kind of visiting him because she knows like he shouldn't be her equal. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like she already knows he's the anomaly and they're going to have to do something about him. They're going to have to like take away his ability to be Spider-Man, or I don't know what the plan is.
Send him back to the universe he's supposed to be in.
Is that what they were going to do? I didn't fully absorb like what 2099 is trying to do when he's chasing down Miles.
Right, because they're on a rocket ship at some point.
Just basically stop him, right, from saving his dad from being captain. Is that essentially what he's trying to stop him from doing?
I think so. I will be watching this movie again for sure. And some of the nuance of 2099 I could pick up on again. Maybe that was another. Maybe that was another nitpick of this movie, was that exactly what 2099 wanted to do with Miles, I was unsure of. I know where Miles ended up because of 2099.
Right.
But I don't know if that's the original plan or if that's kind of where things came to a head.
But I just liked that relationship, and then you pile on like the mother and the father, Miles' mom and dad, and just how much screen time they get.
Yeah.
With caring about him, but still putting it into perspective that he's still like a young person who's like should be watched after by his parents. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
them grounding him and stuff like that is just, there was no, by the time you got to family in the other iterations in film of Spider-Man, the parents aren't around. So it's an all Aunt May party at that point. And in these movies, it's cool to have Spider-Man have parents that are interested in him to play off of. Yeah, I really liked all of that stuff. Specifically like the Gwen Stacy Miles relationship. Like they nailed it. And like you realize they played it like she might just be interested in him as a friend. You know what I mean? Like a confidant type of person. And then at the end, you realize she didn't have to go back. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that there's a little more than this. Certainly they're friends, but that she went out of her way to do something that the other Spider-Man didn't want her to do because she cares about him. Yeah. I mean, beyond all the animation, I think that's part of, certainly the visuals are the main course here, but the storytelling is as good as it's been for this character.
Yes. I find it interesting that each iteration of Spider-Man we get, for me, every time we get a new Spider-Man, they feel more like an actual teenager to me.
Sure. You never bought Tobey Maguire as a teenager, but I did.
One, he was like 30 when he was playing that role. I mean, not 30, but he was. I mean, he and Kirsten Dunst were pretty old playing and James Franco. They're all pretty old playing those roles.
I agree, but though that version of Spider-Man is that is the version that's in my brain.
I know. I totally get that that Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is your Spider-Man.
Not Tobey Maguire. I'm talking about the way the high school scenes are presented in that movie.
Okay.
Are the way the high school scenes play in the comics that I read.
Okay. So that's more of a one-to-one.
He may have been too old, but the setting and the tone of it is exactly how it reads in my brain.
Okay.
The Spider-Man that I grew up with, which was rapidly changing. We're talking like late 80s, early 90s, when everything was getting more pessimistic and dark and violent, including Spider-Man. So like the stuff that I was reading was like any back issue I could get from like the 60s, 70s, and 80s of Spider-Man, which was still like the aw shucks, golly gee, Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Then early 90s, Todd McFarlane takes it over. Mary Jane's overnight becomes a supermodel instead of the girl next door. And Spider-Man gets really dark.
Yeah. Well, that's Todd McFarlane for you. So.
And I loved it. I had my Spider-Man. I listened to my Nirvana.
You were just angsty in your bedroom, reading Spider-Man, rocking out to Nevermind.
It was great.
That does sound like a fun time, to be completely honest. Well,
it was a different time for sure.
I just find that each iteration of Spider-Man, I have my issues with all of the, with Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, all of them. But for me, each iteration feels more like a kid dealing with this. And I think so far Miles is the best version of, he was a middle school student in the first one. I guess he's in early high school. He's like 15 in this one. So like this one feels like we've captured a teenager dealing with this stuff, also dealing with relationships. And maybe it's because, like you said, that the parents are in the picture. When every other single one, there is, the aunt and the uncle, which are parental figures, but it's a different relationship when it's your adopted family or surrogate, whatever you want to call it.
And the uncle never stays around.
That's true. Yeah, the uncle has to die.
He's dead, that's part of the
first
canon. Yeah, he's dead like in the first movie.
Right. So the fact that we see this Miles with his original parents has a relationship with them, and they both know him and they're seeing a change in him, which corresponds with puberty. Like, I don't know. This seems to capture to me what Stan Lee was trying to do when he was making comic book characters. Because oftentimes there's analogs to puberty and changes and all that other kind of stuff. And this Miles Morales captures that growing up, but let's present it as a superhero.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
Anything and that's all I have.
That's all you got.
That's all I got.
That's all I got too. Cool. I can't wait to see it again. And I can't wait to see the third one. I hope they stop at 3. I hope this has the Star Wars treatment, right? Where when all is said and done, I'll look back and say 2 is my favorite. 1 is great as well. We wouldn't have gotten 2 without 1. And 3 wrapped it up well enough. You know what I mean?
What will be the
if I can get
Ewoks
those
in
three,
the next one?
say that again.
Will there be Ewoks, or what will be the version of Ewoks in the
I'm
next
fine
one?
with it.
Okay.
Ewoks never bothered me. I know other people it bothered them, but
They're not. I don't get it.
in 1983 I was 6, and so Ewoks were my jam. Ewoks did not bother me at all. They don't to this day.
Who doesn't want to see scrappy forest people take on the technologically superior bad guy with like logs and rope? It's great.
Yeah, AT-ATs and ATSTs and stuff like that with ropes and logs.
Yeah,
I was there for it.
I love you. Yeah,
It was great. And the speeder bikes. I mean, come on.
Speeder bike was awesome.
Absolutely. Okay. Still is.
Yeah. So my understanding is the next one hopefully comes out next year. So we don't need to wait whatever 5 years or 4 years since the last one. And I kind of hope I hope they wrap it up too. You never know, unfortunately. I mean, there could be more, but if they can do a tight trilogy, I'd be down with that.
Yeah. I would say that 3 seems to be the limit on these Spider-Man movies, but sounds like they might be doing a 4th MCU, so maybe
for Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if they did a 4th.
I wouldn't be shocked either.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Nobody's changing their star rating.
Still 5 stars.
Still 5s. All right. That's it for spoiler talk on Spider-Man: Across the Spider-Verse. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Until then, goodbye.